Okay, welcome everyone, fellow financial advisors and financial services friends. This is Advisor Flow's first webinar of 2025. Thanks for your patience as we took a bit of a break from hosting these at the tail end of 2024. Just wanted to do a little bit of strategizing and refresh for 2025. Hope your year's off to a great start. If this is your first time using Zoom webinar, please use the Q&A function throughout the event or the chat, and you can ask questions as we move along. We'd love for this to be engaging for you, and so we can answer any questions you might have about technology or our softwares. For those who don't know me, I'm Brandon. I'm the founder of Advisor Flow and a certified financial planner based in Vancouver. I run an independent wealth and insurance practice, and I'm constantly on a quest to be the best financial advisor I can be. And for me, that means bringing in the best in the business across the country. That's exactly what these webinars are all about. If you enjoyed today's session, you can visit our website at www.advisorflow.ca/webinars and check out the recordings from some of our past events. If there's a topic that you'd like us to cover or an expert you think we should bring on to these events, please connect with me on LinkedIn. We're planning the rest of the 2025 events as we speak, so I'd love to hear your ideas. Today's session is going to be a bit different than our previous ones because Kelly Gustafson will be running the show. As one of Canada's top technology integration experts, she's going to kick things off with some thought-provoking questions to kind of get us moving. She'll then walk us through some practical insights into how tech tools can be integrated into your practice effectively. We'll then wrap up with an open Q&A where we'll discuss some of the collective vision that some of us have in the financial advice industry here in Canada. Our goal is fairly simple. We want to provide you with tangible insights that you can take away and implement into your practice right away. So without further ado, let's introduce today's speakers. Kelly named today's event Founders Forum, Stacking the Tech, which I thought was fairly spot on. Now, I'm not a gambler, but I have been personally using the software solutions that we're all talking about today in my own practice. And so knowing the speakers firsthand, I can confidently say the goal isn't to gamble with these tech decisions. It's about making informed choices that align your practice's goals and tilting the odds of success in your favor. Kelly and I go way back. We actually met during the founding of the Tech and Innovation Committee, or back then it was a task force with advocates. Since then, I've watched her revolutionize large advisor practices, helping them modernize and staying true to their brand. Next up, we have JC, one of the original founders of Kronos, now Equisoft. When I had a chance to dive into Layla's CRM with him, I was absolutely sold. And finally, we have Tarsum, an estate planning lawyer who formerly worked with Canada's top high net worth families and at a major green bank. Now, he and his co-founder started Planworth, pouring several decades of experience into building a next generation financial planning software solution. Ultimately, the future of financial advice lies in blending traditional approaches with modern technology. And that's exactly what today's conversation is about. As advisors, we work hard to align our team's objectives and goals with our vision. And the software solutions we choose are an extension of that team. Kelly, over to you.
Welcome to the Founders Forum, everyone. Brandon and I did this event last year and it was a hit. So we're carrying forward the tradition because if there's anything that we know about the past 12 months, it is that technology has not stood still. However, we're still seeing the same challenges in your businesses. So we are all invested in moving the needle forward and helping you out with that. I'd like to start by painting the picture of who this webinar is ideally for. Not that you won't find value if you don't fit into this profile, but if you are an independent financial advisor who does not have a CRM, or who does not use the one you have, or does not like the one you have, you operate multiple lines of business, insurance, investment, group benefits. You have hundreds or thousands of in-force insurance policies, a few hundred households, investment accounts, and some group business, a dealer or outsourced PM firm, an MGA or two with 10 or 20 carrier contracts, maybe some direct contracts for group, maybe a TPA, you're licensed in multiple provinces, you're managing a team, and you're such a nice guy or gal that you've taken on some acquisition business along the way, and have yet to speak with most of those clients. You feel disorganized, you feel overwhelmed, and you're missing opportunities. You want to generate more insight from your enforced block and take better care of your clients' needs in a proactive way. You're worried about meeting your compliance obligations. You struggle with fact finding and data gathering processes, and you have no consistent or thorough way of getting your clients' information. You need to develop or refine your client onboarding experience. You'd want to deliver on demand convenience, but you don't know how. And actually, all you really want to do is just go talk to people and help them with their finances. For those of you who don't know much about me, I'm a super nerd who's hacked the insurance industry or the financial services industry on behalf of you, independent financial advisors. My team and I are invited inside of complex advisor businesses like the one I've described to uncover risk, fix, build, train, implement, and integrate. And while my passion lies mostly with the technology, my approach to business transformation is people first, then process, then technology. I'm also a strategic consultant to fintech companies and represent the independent advisor voice. Not only does my team work inside of advisor businesses, we work inside of fintech businesses to ensure that they are aligning with your needs to deliver features and support that actually matter to you. There's one standout quality or feature or benefit or skill that I am known for is I actually use the technology that I recommend because real experience matters in order to make a difference for you guys. For this webinar, I brought together my 3 favorite technology solutions on the market that address most of the challenges that I outlined earlier. Layla is a client relationship management system for all lines of business. Advisor Flow streamlines client data gathering and fact finding, and Planworth facilitates advisor client collaboration through holistic financial planning and literacy, supporting informed decision making. Beyond the extensive due diligence that I complete prior to engaging or recommending any technology, which includes alignment with legal, regulatory, and compliance standards, privacy and security protocols, I also evaluate how well they understand the Canadian market and your business, what their attitudes are towards their customers, which is you, the subscribers, their professional market maturity and their track record, and willingness to receive and respond to feedback and collaborate with other technology partners. These 3 are the best. I have a QR code for you because we are in the heart of RRSP season. So thank you for joining today. But my team's commitment to deliver value will be delayed until the 2nd week of March. If you want to receive the technology integration plans that I use with my clients for each of these platforms, and some of the other technology that I use to solve the majority of the problems that I find and fix, use the QR code to access the follow-up request form. Brandon will also have some follow-up for you after. So let's break it down. Before we get to the backstories of our founders and their homegrown technology, let's add some context. I'm going to ask each of them to tell us what key problems their platforms are solving for advisors and what obligations they are helping you manage. And we are going to start with JC from Layla.
Thank you, Kelly. So I think everyone knows what's a CRM. But what makes us different is that, well, first, we're specifically tailored for independent financial advisors. And then our core foundation is based on data management. We know it's a huge issue in the industry, even more for independent advisors. So we don't only retrieve your client's information with the data feed, their policies, their investment, but we're cleaning out the data and standardizing it to make sure that you have basically one client file per client with all their products, all their information, all your communication, etc. And then we want to build a software that's super intuitive and fun to use for your whole team. That's about it.
How about you, Brandon?
Thanks, Kelly. So Advisor Flow is really focused on streamlining data gathering. I found in my own practice that I was using a lot of PDFs, Word docs, and Excel sheets. And the advisors that are using our software are typically growing firms that have too many clients to speak with and have a hard time categorizing who's a real prospect, who's just kicking the tires, and who's ready to do some planning. So we've really built those industry standard templates to help with reducing inefficiency and sort of that back and forth communication that can happen with prospects or clients, particularly in book purchases. And then we provide a collaborative online portal that clients will want to sign into to get information on their situation and give you information to help you build a better financial plan for them. Ultimately, we're helping advisors with the accuracy of the client data they gather and ensuring they gather it at the right point in the relationship with that client. Ultimately, this improves communication with clients and will enhance workflow with your team. That's Advisor Flow.
Thanks, Brandon. And Tarsum.
Thanks, Kelly. So PlanWorth at the end of the day it revolves entirely around the concept of holistic financial planning. So what we're really trying to solve for is that gap in the market where most clients, unless they are in the high net worth or ultra high net worth space, do not have access to what we refer to again as holistic financial planning. Some may refer to it as comprehensive financial planning. But the same concept, which is that clients have a plan that deals with all aspects of their financial wellness. So whether that's purely cash flow, retirement projections, that may be tax and estate planning, it may be life insurance. Really, we're trying to allow these advisors in both the enterprise space and the independent advisor space to improve financial literacy with their clients, but also to assist their clients in, as it says on the slide, informed decision making. And so whether that decision making is when can I retire, or what is the status of my estate plan, or how much life insurance do I need, and can I afford the premiums? All of those types of decisions are the type of key aspects of a client's life that hopefully advisors can assist with. And then to facilitate that and or try to make it efficient, we have a client portal which is focused more on the financial planning process. And so that client portal is meant to assist with collecting key financial planning data, but also to assist with when you pass a plan off to the client, and then the client can then take that over and have a sandbox or a client mode in which they can play around with their financial plan, and then they can further have a holistic view of other pieces of their plan, which again goes back to those some of those tax and estate planning insight or insurance insights. So another term we often use is advisors that are looking to essentially provide family office style of services. So for virtual family office, for example, is a term we often use, or democratizing access is a term that we often use. But again, it all goes back to, or what we're trying to support is this concept of holistic or comprehensive financial planning in a efficient way, which doesn't necessarily always require you to spend hundreds of hours on clients in order to do that.
Now, because this is a relationship-based business, and these are tech partners who are homegrown, Canadian-based, and actually care, let's get to know them a little bit more, starting with their vision and some of the challenges. So what inspired you to create your platform? What industry problems were you seeing that you thought needed a fresh perspective? Let's start with Brandon.
Thanks, Kelly. So I've been in financial services for over a decade now. I started my career the traditional way with Freedom 55 Financial and London Life. I learned the fundamentals of financial planning before earning my CFP and my CLU. Around my fourth year, I hit my stride, but one recurring frustration stood out in that clients hated filling out PDFs and Word forms. I recognized my clients being largely SaaS founders and SaaS technology professionals. They had perhaps a higher degree of expectation with their service providers, but they'd be constantly pushing back on the processes that I was asking them to go through. And I realized this was an unnecessary friction point in the client experience, and one that was going to become even more prevalent as I'd say millennials have access to more wealth. So in 2019, a friend who was finishing his data visualization program at UBC, he offered to build a cloud-based tool to replace some of the Excel and Word docs that I had previously. It was pretty rudimentary at first, but thanks to some constructive feedback from some fellow advisors in my office, we refined the platform and added some more usable functionality. Then in 2020, the pandemic hit. I hired a full team in order to evolve the product. And that's when we really began actively promoting Advisor Flow to the Canadian financial advisor community. And we've been growing the product ever since. So thanks to everyone who's been a supporter of the product so far. And over time, I do feel we will make progress with the investment dealers and the NGAs. Some have already started to support us, which is great. But ultimately, it takes a village to change perspectives and ultimately prioritize the client experience. Today, Advisor Flow is addressing a key shift in client expectations. Millennials, Gen Z, and emerging affluent folks are looking for a more personalized, always connected experience with their financial advisor. They want working with an advisor to be as simple and seamless as working with a Wealthsimple or a Questrade. Now, those two platforms haven't done a good job of touching financial planning in a meaningful way. And so that's really where I think the opportunity is for independent advisors is to really think about how do you prioritize the client experience, both offline and online, and which tools can you use to provide that experience that those clients are looking for. There's no single advisor tool that's going to do that. And so by having your tools work together and the advisor community working together with dealers and MGAs, that's how we're going to ensure that we can continue to thrive, delivering real, trusted advice that Canadians need.
Amazing. Thank you. Keyword working together. Collaboration is key. And we do have a question that we're going to address, William, during the Q&A. So JC, how about you? When it comes to Layla, what inspired you and what industry problems were you seeing that needed a fresh approach?
Yeah, so my background quickly is that my father was the founder of Kronos Technology, Jean-François Saint-Pierre, and he grew Kronos from 2000 to 2018 alongside François Levasseur. And the company ended up selling in 2018 to Equisoft, which is now Equisoft Connect and Equisoft Plan. Personally, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I found an opportunity when I was 18 and I became a professional poker player. So for basically 8 years. And then I wanted to work with people, build something that was meaningful. So I wanted to gain experience inside a business. So I joined Jean-François and the whole Kunas team. But I went through all the organization. I also saw like both sides of the coins. On one side, I saw all the advisors and their firm frustration toward technologies, and I saw all the struggle inside a technology firm. And basically, like I said earlier, it's for us it was a data issue. Advisors need to work with up-to-date client data, and it seems simple on the surface, but it's quite a challenge to have one single file with everything in it. So this is why we thought a new approach was needed, and we started the Layla.
That is definitely an elephant that we're all trying to eat, data issues. Tarsum, how about you? What inspired you to create Planworth, and what industry problems were you seeing that needed a fresh approach?
Thanks. Yeah, so my story is not as interesting as poker. It's probably opposite, which is I was a tax lawyer prior to starting Planworth and getting into uh, the wealth space. So I focused entirely when I was a tax lawyer on owner manager tax planning. So estate freezes, butterflies, trust planning, those types of transactions, risks, opportunities. I left private practice and I joined TD Wealth as a high net worth planner. In that role at the bank, I was assisting investment advisors and portfolio managers and insurance advisors and private bankers with essentially what we called wealth plans, or again, going back to that term of comprehensive planning. So in that role, and just obviously being in the industry, I really saw that there was two trends in the planning world that were taking off, and I saw it actually more in the U.S. than necessarily the Canadian market. But really, the two trends that I felt advisors and firms could take advantage of were one was digital or hybrid planning. So this concept of that plans don't always have to be these 50 or 100-page PDFs that you provide to clients. They can be presented in a way that's a digital interaction. And so one of the ways Planworth is built when you're creating a financial plan is through something we call toggles and sliders. So being able to change a retirement age or adding a strategy like for example, corporate-owned life insurance or adding an IFA to that strategy on top of it and seeing the impact and the building blocks there, I felt was important. And then also being able to allow the client to deal with their plan after you're done and review it. So that's one sort of trend I was chasing with Planworth was digital or hybrid planning. The other one was holistic or comprehensive planning. So um, JD Power, which is did a study which we mention a lot, which is even today only 7% of um, Canadians receive the elements of a holistic or comprehensive plan. And so, but the net promoter score of those types of clients are way higher than clients that receive a traditional, very basic plan or sort of product-centric advice. And so, obviously, with Planworth, we were trying to build a platform where by digesting data, whether it's manual or hopefully more and more automated, advisors are able to provide that sort of holistic, comprehensive planning. In terms of challenges, I think Canada does lag behind the US with technology adoption. I think there's a bunch of reasons for that. Obviously, size and scale is one, but I think also as Canadian firms, whether whatever industry it is, generally firms are a bit more conservative or not as risk centric in terms of taking on new technology or workflows. And so when we first started, I think we had a lot of issues with trying to explain to advisors this hybrid, collaborative, holistic approach because it wasn't what they were used to doing. But I think for us, what really ended up helping us was actually COVID-19 and the sort of the forcing advisors and firms to make them review their digital footprint. And so I honestly think without that sort of push that accelerated a lot of technology roadmaps, whether it's at enterprise firms or independent advisors, I think for our sort of engagement or adoption or growth, I think it would have taken us a lot longer without that sort of event that took place that forced everyone to look at it. But I don't think that challenge is done. I think we still are way behind the US in a lot of different technology advancements. But I think continuing to support Canadian firms and Canadian technology companies and startups and the ecosystem by firms and advisors continue to support that, I think we will catch up and hopefully, to be honest, pass some of the US sort of technology advancements.
I agree. So when it comes to part of my vision as it relates to technology platforms and helping advisors integrate technology, I love a good challenge, and getting technology partners to talk to each other has always been very, very difficult until I met these three and said, hey, would you guys mind getting together? Because there's bigger issues that need to be addressed related to providing really good information about clients to advisors that have gathered it or tried to gather that information. What if you all got together and started talking and sharing information? What would that look like? So when it comes to being open and willing to collaborate, these three are leading the pack and they are talking. And we will answer some Q&A about the future plans of these organizations. So the industry problem that I was seeing as it related to engagement of technology partners, especially when it came to large organizations like huge planning companies or huge CRMs, that really you felt like you were a number and you're waiting for 5 weeks to get a response from somebody and you're working in the platform and immediately need a result, is that every single time my clients asked me for something and said there was a problem, each one of these guys stepped up on the same day instantly and said, I think we could help solve that problem. To the point where when I brought Layla the challenge of nobody's integrating the group business inside of the CRM that includes the insurance and investment individual business, they said, hold my beer. We're going to take a look at this and see if we can help solve this problem. And they are. So I'm so impressed by these fellas. Not only are they homegrown, so there's a lot of protection around information, but the willingness to collaborate and help solve your problems is like nothing I've experienced. All right, more problem solving and empowerment. Advisors, like I said, are facing complex challenges around compliance, juggling those multiple lines of businesses, managing client expectations, and then staying on top of the day-to-day commitments that you have. How does your platform help advisors to not just meet those commitments, but exceed their client expectations? Let's start with Brandon again.
Sure. Thanks, Kelly. So I recently went through an internal audit, and I got to say, having advisor flow surveys for every client I've engaged with in the last few years, along with email summaries, was a real game changer. For those clients who I built financial plans for, having those handy from Planworth was very handy. And I've just onboarded onto Layla, so that's going to make things even easier as I have multiple advisors in the firm engaging with some of the same clients. Ultimate compliance is about showing that you have a repeatable, transparent process and that you prioritize your client's best interest. And if you haven't thought through which technologies can help you do that, those audits can become much more stressful. Without tools like Advisor Flow, Planworth, or Layla, it's nearly impossible to ensure that compliance is followed with other members of your team when you're growing your practice. So these processes don't just protect the practice, but they're also instilling trust and confidence in clients, which in turn is going to continue to support the growth.
JC.
Yeah, well, first of all, we build a CRM specifically for financial advisors. We see so many generic CRM, but being able to have all the data that you need on hand, right in front of you, is super important for us. I've talked about being able to get all your data in. But then what we're the most proud and what motivates the most our team is when we get users' feedback that tells us that it's almost fun to make admin work with us. And our team is so proud of this. So we're trying to make the app fun to use with great designs and build some collaborative tools. So yes, we build task management, document storage, small if any tools for the one who needs something simple, Google and Outlook integration to make sure that all your client communication are stored forever with us. We, like I said, task, but then we also thrive on user feedback to make sure that we build what is really needed by advisors and their firm. And a feature that we just released is a Kanban feature to help team collaborate and structure their processes. We've seen so many firms with like big book of processes full of dust, but they're unable to implement it. So this is something we just delivered, and we're proud, and users are thriving on it. So yeah.
Parsum, how does your platform help advisors not just meet but exceed expectations?
And so I think a really important part of the sort of foundation of Planworth is, as I mentioned, like I'm a tax lawyer. One of my co-founders, James, is also a tax lawyer. And so, as you know, clients, corporate structures and their plans are just getting more and more complicated. There's more companies, there's more trusts. And then on top of that, the tax regime hasn't gotten simpler. In the last 10 years, it's only gotten more complicated, even right now with the uncertainty with capital gains tax. And so the models that we use allow advisors to create very complex cases with multiple holding companies, multiple life insurance policies, and IFAs, and then even things like turning the potential impact of the capital gains inclusion rate on a client's plan, showing a client that obviously adds a lot of value there. The other part is I think we're very data rich. Like we have a lot of really great data which traditionally in financial planning has not been used for any other purpose than the cash flow projection. So for our purposes, we can leverage that data to, for example, get into things like estate planning and even seemingly silly things like the client has a dog. We then address that through that in their will, they should have a pet clause to deal with that. So they probably haven't heard that from another advisor, and that's how you stand out. We also create a lot of infographics like family trees and corporate charts, which are great for compliance and making sure that you have the information correct. But I think the other really important part is that we are API friendly, so we can connect to other data. At the end of the day, we are a financial planning and wealth planning platform, but we can't solve every single problem or workflow that an advisor has. So we are not a CRM. We make that clear to advisors. We do have functionality that's similar, like a to-do list, and we do have a Kanban board for, in particular, tax and estate planning and the status of some of the different strategies. But the actual CRM functions of reminders of annual reviews and things like that are best done in a CRM. Also, it'd be great to digest that type of data that's coming from a CRM because that's information that they wouldn't need to enter into Planworth. There's obviously the Planworth ability to send to-do lists and things like that. And then with Advisor Flow, again, we're not about trying to solve client onboarding or client those sort of workflows or questions that are non-financial planning related. So the questions we're asking, for example, in a discovery are financial planning centric. They're not practice management centric. And so having a platform that is API friendly, built on a modern tech stack, it does allow us to then interact with and integrate with third party partners like the gentleman here. But we've also done one, for example, with another company, Side Drawer, which is live in our software, where we didn't build secure document exchange from scratch for that. It's a way to collaborate and for people that are using that other software to have it all in one solution.
Excellent. For those of you who are asking questions, we see you, and we will address a lot of this during the Q&A if your questions are not answered in our next couple of round tiers. So the next round we're going into is risk mitigation and growth. And this might answer your what are the top 2 reasons why someone should implement a CRM question in the Q&A section. So how do your tools support advisors in mitigating risk, that is legal, regulatory, and compliance obligations, and protecting the client information and protecting you as an advisor, and also grow their practice strategically? JC.
Well, Kelly, you're more versed than me on this topic, but I'll do my best. What I think is that a CRM is as useful as it is used by a team or an advisor or a user. So first thing we focus on is making sure everyone in the firm is trained and knows our feature and knows how to collect insight on their clients, and making sure they have the full picture and the full history of everything they do, or the exchange, or all the communication they have with their client. Like I said, we're built for financial advisors, so everything is made to simplify your life. We want to automate as many things as possible to relieve you from all the admin tasks that are that you're required to do to be compliant. And then we're building collaborative tool to make sure that there's nothing left that you don't lose information, or that everyone knows what to do, basically.
Brandon, how about you?
Thanks, Kelly. Well, yeah, I think the CRM is really integral for this particular question. But the main issue for most advisor firms, including how mine used to be, is I had information all over the place. And so it's when you do get that audit coming to you, what can you show the auditor on your process? And then what data points can you give them easily to show you why you recommended the product you did at different points in that client relationship? So Advisor Flow is built out into different survey templates. And the reason why we have chosen to go that path is there's different times in which you need to gather certain points of information. Not every client needs a full, holistic, comprehensive financial plan. Some clients just want an insurance policy. Some clients just want investment planning. They don't want actually the full financial planning. And so being able to understand where is that client on their journey, and then ask them the right questions in a streamlined way in an API mapped software, that's going to help keep your client book organized as you continue to grow. If you choose to delay this as a problem, the problem will only become bigger because you're going to have more clients, more client data scattered all across in different PDFs, Word docs, Excels, and the problem just gets worse. So I'm thinking 30 years ahead for my own practice, as many of the advisors on our product are, in that the value of a book of business is going to be very much weighted based on how organized the data is and how streamlined your workflow is and how low the compliance risk is. If you have a ton of insurance policies and investment accounts that you've set up over 10 or 20 years and you have none of that data in a system you have any control over, I would pay much less for that book of business because I'd be buying a compliance risk. And as everyone knows, that's the biggest risk in our business, is if you have a compliance problem, you could be out of business. So that's how I like to think about it. Ensure you have the right data at the right time and make sure you have a process to gather information and store it in an organized fashion, depending on which type of client you're engaging with.
Those are the right answers. How about you, Tarsum?
So I think risk mitigation is I think a topic that is really important but not talked about enough with advisor practices. So I think especially on things like tax and estate planning, people just don't know what they don't know, and it's not their fault that they don't know that because a lot of the risks that a client is carrying, you wouldn't know unless you have dealt with it in the past or you are engaging a tax accountant or a tax lawyer or an estate lawyer. So we try to, as much as we can, at least issue spot potential issues. We don't solve the problem. We don't provide legal advice and tax advice and things like that, but we do try to issue spot it and then pinpoint for the advisor and the client what type of professional they should speak with to address that risk or that pitfall. Because the opportunities are great, but at the same time, sometimes the risk or the pitfalls are even more important. So a simple example that we get a lot of great feedback on the software is with U.S. citizen clients. So in PlanWorth, you indicate a client is a U.S. citizen. We then raise potential issues or insights related to that U.S. citizen status. So simple example would be things like principal residence exemption limits, or potentially issues with a U.S. citizen having a TFSA or an RESP. So, for example, with an RESP, you have a couple. One is a U.S. citizen, one isn't. The way to mitigate that maybe just to have the RESP in the name of the couple or the person that's not a U.S. citizen. And so, unless someone has dealt with U.S. citizens before, their advice may be just open up an RESP always. But you do need to figure out the potential tax issues when they're a U.S. citizen, and then things like U.S. estate tax as well. When you have a Canadian resident that's holding U.S. securities, for example, anywhere, including in a non-registered account, the potential exposure to U.S. estate tax. And so those types of issues that you can hopefully by using technology you can mitigate is great. And then also like sort of large life insurance policies on the corporate side. We've gotten a lot of great feedback in terms of assisting advisors that are moving into that space of positioning corporate-owned life insurance and the software assisting them with both financial literacy for the advisor and the client, but also having a very clear trail in terms of why you recommended the amount that you recommended and that you didn't put the client in a policy in which the premiums affect their ability to enjoy their retirement or meet their debt obligations, and to test that in a real projection with real numbers and real tax consequences and so forth.
Thank you, you guys. And fun fact: I'm currently sitting on the farm in Saskatchewan, so representing the prairies, while Tarsum is sitting in Ontario, and JC is sitting in Quebec, and Brandon is sitting in BC. So we truly right now are representing Canada nationally from a technology standpoint for financial advisors. So let's go to our last question, Brandon. Future. Let's talk about the future and what's next for Layla, for Advisor Flow, and for Planworth. How do you see the advisor-client relationship evolving with your technology? Let's start with Brandon.
That's a great question, Kelly. So in 2025, our focus is really on making it easier for mid to large firms integrate advisor flow into their existing processes. We're going to be launching our first AI-driven feature that's scheduled for April. And this is going to help simplify the transition from outdated processes into cloud-based ones without causing a ton of problems in your existing workflow. Integration is going to be still a key focus. So, for example, I chose Layla for my own practice recently because I value working directly with decision makers in my business partnerships. That integration, when it launches, I'm really excited about that potential. Planworth, Carson, the puck's in your court. I know we've had many advisors mention how eagerly they're awaiting that launch. So that'll be great once that's finally live. Looking ahead, I'd love to see dealer integrations that will save advisors time. So achieving this is going to require collective advocacy. Dealers need to recognize that advisors should control the client experience while they focus on compliance. Ultimately, we need a Wealthsimple-like experience, but one where advisors, not dealers or tech providers, are in the driver's seat. Advisors are the catalysts for the financial change, and ultimately we hold the trust of our clients. So I encourage everyone who's here today, evaluate your tech partners the same way you evaluate your wholesalers. Who helps you shine, who listens to your feedback and evolves, and who's going to be there to support you over the next 10 years. And for senior advisors, digitizing your practice is not just about efficiency and learning a new piece of tech. It's about ensuring continuity and maximizing its value. A modernized practice is going to attract more potential successors and ensure that your next generation of clients stay within your firm and your legacy can live on.
Brandon, thank you. How about you, Tarsum?
Yeah, so I think our vision is obviously continuing to evolve. To Brandon's point, I think a really important part of a technology partner is their willingness to listen to you. Our roadmap is heavily, as Planworth users know, is heavily influenced by our users reaching out and indicating things that they'd like to improve or things that they'd like to add to the software. We don't believe the software is perfect. There's always ways to evolve and improve, and we seek that sort of feedback from our users actively by asking them periodically about those, and then they see the results live in the software. In terms of product roadmap items, we built last year a basic AI-powered planning companion for our client portal. So that was essentially ways for a client to ask questions about their financial plan. And in plain English and French, it can translate the client's plan for them to answer basic questions that they might have, where they don't need to reach out to the advisor every time they have a simple question about their plan. So we're continuing to work on that. We are doing a bunch of user interface and user experience updates, as well as digital presentation enhancements, and then always evolving in terms of adding new accounts and assets. For example, one we're working on is IPP integration in terms of being able to model a proposed IPP or an existing IPP and different options around that. I think disruption and evolution of financial services is going to accelerate. It's not slowing down. I think going to conferences in the US for fintech conferences, it's wild some of the things that are exist there, and there's no way around them. They're disruptive. Like they're not just improving the way advisors work, but some of them are going to heavily disrupt the way advisors work and the way they survive and the way they make money. And so I think something that I always reiterate to and constantly tell advisors is that technology adoption is not just like it's not a necessity. Like it's not like you shouldn't look at it as I need to do this to survive. Like you should be looking at it as a competitive advantage, because if you look at it as you're plugging in holes and hey, I in order to survive, I need to do this, you're always going to be behind your another advisor in the field that is aggressively adopting technology and pushing sort of the envelope with what they can do. So I think you want to be leading the pack as opposed to sort of a year or two later following the pack.
Okay. So I think we're going to jump right over to Q&A if that's okay. Is there anything else you guys want to share before we do that? Nope. All right.
Nope.
So Anonymous says, for those still on the fence, what are the 2 top reasons why someone should implement a CRM? We've covered a lot here, but let's ask Brandon to answer that one instead of JC.
Thank you.
You know what? I survived without a CRM. I just used Outlook, and I was looking to integrate Equisoft for a long period of time. But when it was just me, I could still relatively stay on top of things through emails. But as soon as you get a larger team with admin and other advisors, it becomes impossible to maintain accurate client info on everybody. So I think it just depends on your scale, your stage of business. So to say a brand new advisor needs to have a CRM when they don't even have 100 clients, that would be potentially wrong. Would it help if you had it? Yes. But can you survive without it? Early days, probably. But as you grow your firm and you have more people than you know, like if you don't know all your clients walking into them on the street, you need a CRM. So if I run into some of the clients that I've just got introduced to in this book purchase, I wouldn't know them if I ran into them on the street. So I definitely need a CRM so when they call, I can quickly see who are their kids' names, what's going on with their investments, their insurance. You really need to have all that data centralized so you're not scrambling and looking like a professional who's not as professional as they should be.
So to add on, like on from my perspective, I can provide 2 reasons as well, and they're both related to Planworth. So one is that to the extent that we can save time in Planworth with data entry. So if you have a great CRM in terms of you have live data or at least up to date data, being able to sync or like import that data into Planworth is great, and I can say that with confidence because we already do it, for example, with Salesforce on the enterprise side. So obviously Salesforce for like an independent advisor does not make sense. But on the enterprise side, when Salesforce works well, it makes the experience so much better with not just creating plans, but updating plans. And then a second reason is again, Planworth is I think really great at identifying the issue, but we're not a CRM. So if to the extent that we are generating a really interesting opportunity or we are identifying a very code red risk, being able to then take that insight and have it remind you in a CRM to push that forward is a really great reason also to implement a CRM to make the use of Planworth better or more efficient.
I think also the more complex your business is, the more lines of business, the bigger it gets, the more team members you have, the more you're going to want to centralize all of the information related to your clients because you're not going to be able to keep track of everything yourself. So not just from that risk mitigation perspective of this can store your notes. This is a digitalized version. It's not just an Excel spreadsheet. It's not just Outlook. It's a central source of truth related to your client, the client centric, which is what you guys are being asked to provide. So if you have multiple products at multiple carriers and multiple lines of business, this gives you an opportunity to centralize it and track it according to what your client has and needs and how you can further help them and support the relationship, which is what you're looking for. Nobody wants to buy a box of paper files anymore. I don't want to offend anyone, but a digitalized compliant practice that is in a CRM has far more value because you can instantly see insight and you can continue value throughout the transition process or delivering value throughout the transition process. So I hope that answers some of your questions. Let's go to what makes Planworth better than Conquest, NaviPlan, Snap, and Razor? Listen, I'm not going to compare. The best technology is the technology that you're going to use. I've used them all. I've tried them all. I love Planworth, and it has some fantastic features and complexity. It's Canadian. It's homegrown. It's still owned by a Canadian. I can talk to the owner. I can advocate on behalf of my clients. They'll come up with great ideas to help better serve the client. So from my perspective as an advisor advocate and industry expert on technology integration, that's why I would choose Planworth over the other one. Anybody else want to add to that?
There's a lot of great financial planning options out there. Ultimately, it depends on what your priorities are. Do you prefer something that's suggested by your dealer, or do you prefer something that's better fit for your client? Like I had the option of going either path. If you only work with simpler clients, maybe you need a simple planning software. But it ultimately depends on your practice. Take a demo of each of them, figure out which one works best for you and what your priorities are. I know for me, I wanted, as Kelly said, be able to speak to the owner and influence the product roadmap. That was important to me. So the decision was fairly clear.
I won't add anything other than Planworth's great.
Somebody said it's amazing.
Yeah, I can actually.
Says, where is the board that Tarsum just spoke about? I am not able to recall that. Tarsum, do you remember the board that you spoke about?
Yeah, I was just talking about the roadmap Kanban board. So
Oh,
yeah, so Anna, it's in the wealth insights section. There's a roadmap view.
okay, this is a good one. I'm still handwriting fact finds. What makes advisor flow easier to get the hard and soft info I need?
You know what? I think getting 50 or 60% of a client's information before a fact find leads to a better fact find. I think the days of walking in with an empty notebook are behind us, especially if you're working with younger clients. They almost expect you to ask them for something before the meeting because you simply cannot gather all the client's info in an hour and a half fact find. And if you're spending time gathering the hard facts by asking how much is in your TFSA, where's that? You're spending less time talking about what's going on with your family. What are your business goals? Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years? What does retirement look like? Those are the questions that ultimately evoke emotion and that build real trust. And so I think that's where really adding technology into your process can streamline that data gathering and ultimately lead to deepening your relationships with your clients.
I agree. As a younger client for financial advisor, I can agree. The worst part is spending 30 minutes answering the same question year over year over year when I can just do it in my bed or when I have a free time. So I completely agree with this.
Couch planning, right? So the thing that I love about both Planworth and Advisor Flow is the ability to manage your client's expectation up front because both of them provide a client-facing portal. So you can take your individual link and you can put it into a presentation. And I'll show you if you have registered for my follow-up, I'll show you how I build that for my advisors in their businesses. But you can interact and engage with your clients beforehand and manage expectations up front for that collaborative digital experience. It's just a new way of having the conversation. Instead of saying we're going to sit down for 2 hours and I'm going to write everything out, this allows you to engage them in a different way. And then you can sit there and go through the fact find, go through the questionnaires and have a conversation, which doubles, it simplifies the process for clients. And honestly, they're interested in more convenience, not less convenience. It's also more convenient for you.
And Kelly, if I could, like, I'm not saying that the pen and paper doesn't work. Like, it's worked for 20 or 30 years,
Yeah.
but the idea of like, it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think it's more about how do you constantly get better and improve what you're doing and meet clients where they are. Like, I still will, if a client doesn't complete a survey before a meeting, I'm not going to cancel the meeting. I just let them know at the start of the meeting, hey, you know what? I noticed you didn't complete the homework. So we're only going to be able to get through about half of what I wanted to get through today. So if you do have some time after the meeting, I'd encourage you to complete that and let's begin the meeting.
And just a quick addition to that, I think what I had heard from an advisor about advisor flow and Brandon is also handwritten notes don't sell your practice well, right? So like if you plan on in the future having a practice that's you're going to sell or market, to the extent that the data is structured and digital, that is way more attractive to a potential purchaser.
Okay, there's 30 questions here. I want to thank everybody for their questions. We are going to copy them and send the answers out in a follow-up email. I think, Brandon, is that right? What we're going to do? We want to make sure we're capturing these, but we need to wrap up. We have 4 minutes to do so. So thanks for your questions. I apologize we didn't get to them, and we will still follow up with you. And I'm going to pass it back to Brandon to close the webinar. And thanks to you guys.
Thanks, Kelly. Yeah, wow. We got a ton of interest in this event, so I thank you all for being here. I know some folks joined late, so we'll send the recording out. And for anyone that was not anonymous and you asked questions, we'll follow up with answers to those questions. Thank you very much, everybody. Now, just quickly before we let you go, coming up with Advisor Flow, we've got our optimized client portal. This has already been released, and so this allows you to really see your clients to see what's next in their financial planning journey with you, see quickly what the risk tolerance is, net worth, net cash flow. We're going to continue to optimize this, so please keep providing feedback. We really do appreciate it. There'll be a revamped advisor portal coming out soon. And so it's similar style where it's a one pager and you can quickly see everything related to your advisor flow account and your client engagement. Our AI feature, I've touched on that. This is the QR code. If you didn't catch it the first time with Kelly, please scan it and let us know if you want access to some of her resources, and she'll send those to you sometime in the next couple of months. But yeah, once again, everyone, thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate everyone's contributions to the industry. We're not going to get better if we don't work together. So Kelly, thank you so much for putting this on and bringing together JC and Tarsem. We'll continue with events throughout the year. So if you have topics that are burning that you'd love to see or a speaker you want to hear on an event, please ping me on LinkedIn and we'll definitely consider that. Any final words from our speakers?
I don't know. Thank you for hosting this, Brandon, and thank you, Kelly, for moderating.
Same thing. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
And thanks to all the attendees. There's still 100 here. And guys, we broke records with this one. So good job. Have a
Thanks,
great rest of your
everyone.
day.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.